All right, let's go ahead and get started. So we're doing a live call with Gary from Voxtur, and Gary will help us understand the Blue Water acquisition, what it means for Voxtur. So with that being said, Gary, take it from here.
Okay, thank you, and thanks for the opportunity to provide some insight into this. I think if it's okay with everybody, I'm going to start it on a very kind of layman's terms of trying to give you some projection as far as what Blue Water is and what they do and how that ties in with what we do. So essentially, our business primarily going into this before we did the Blue Water deal was primarily focused on the origination space. So, everyone knew that on a good market, it was doing 1.2 million transactions a month. And we wanted to garner and increase capacity, of that in the services that we have and title, tax, and valuation. But then there's a whole other world, and it's called capital markets. And that is that portfolios are placed on a platform every day where they actually will sell mortgages, they'll sell mortgage servicing rights, they'll deal with trades for scratch and dent sales, non-qualified mortgages, home equity lines of credit as well. So there's a whole capital market side of the business that, frankly, dwarfs the amount of transactions that are in the origination side. The capital market side is not unusual for 4 million transactions, 4 million mortgages to trade on a monthly basis. So it's massive. And so let me explain what Blue Water does, and then I'll explain to you why it's a perfect fit for us and why it's going to exponentially increase our opportunity for business in a massive way. So what Blue Water does is they're a technology company. They built a transactional platform in the capital market space. So they've created a marketplace for all mortgages, whether it's MSRs, which is mortgage servicing rights, which is basically the full administration of making, how to, facilitate the making of mortgage payments to whoever it is that's holding the the ownership of the loan itself. The platform also will sell actual mortgages itself. The project or the platform also will facilitate what we call scratch and dent. So if there's something about a mortgage that doesn't fit, in a typical portfolio, you can call it an orphan mortgage or whatever, but it could be, call it scratch and dent, because there's some mortgages like a Fannie and Freddie won't accept. For example, if you are self-employed, so you don't have typical, revenue accepted, by the IRS, forms, because you are self-employed, then they don't fall within the, the normal accepted Fannie Freddie, ticketed enterprise. So there's scratch and dents. They're just little orphans. There's something here, something there. It doesn't have this or that. Non-qualified mortgages. It could be, when they made the application, there was some data that wasn't included, so therefore it didn't get the Fannie Freddie ticket. And then the home equity line of credit, which is basically going to replace refinancing the mortgage. So home equity line of credit is, we've had this in Canada for many years, is that basically you take a look and you've got a house that's worth, $1 million, and you've got, $300,000 mortgage, and you need some extra cash because of, this pandemic and the impact it has. You can go out and get a home equity line. And so they will provide that. But in order to get a home equity line, they'll need to review your own personal, covenants, your job, how much money you make, all your credit score. You'll need to have your the valuation reviewed again. You'll need to have a title reviewed again, make sure there's no, claims on the title. You'll need to have a tax certificate, so proof of payment of taxes, a new flood certificate. So, and that's what you do for home equity line of credit. But every time one of these transactions takes place, and so they've built a marketplace, a transactional technology marketplace. And I call it a marketplace because Blue Water invites everybody that has anything for sale onto their platform. So it's becoming the known go-to marketplace across the country. Blue Water, however, makes its money by bringing buyers to those sellers and facilitating the transaction. They're not a broker, but they facilitate and represent the buyers. And so that's how they basically make their money. Their fees range from anywhere from, call it $75 to $150 a transaction. They are somewhere around 15,000 transactions a month. So they're a very profitable business, and it is going to be extremely more profitable. Why? Because our business is digitization, in the lending space. Again, to emphasize what we do, we have a digitized valuation platform that we built, emanating from the ANL deal that we did. We can actually provide a full insured valuation product for $50 if needed. You're going to need that because you don't want to buy a mortgage and find out the mortgage is more than the value of the house. So, you need that review. We provide that. You're going to need a tax certificate or a flood certificate. They currently charge $75 for each one of those, and we can produce those instantly as well. We have that. You're going to need a property report. We have that instantly. You may need a title report, which we can do instantaneously. And ultimately, you may need new title insurance, which we have an attorney opinion letter, which we can offer for $700 versus the $3,000 that an average person will pay for today. So everything that Blue Water does right now, which is basically facilitate the transaction, that purchaser is going to have to go out and require the services in all of those areas that I discussed with you. And so what happens if you're a if you are a purchaser like, Rice Capital, who are in that business, who are partners in this deal, they may be dealing with 4 or 5 different vendors. And so it's onerous on them to facilitate and manage who's going to do the valuation, who's going to provide the tax reports, who's going to provide the flood reports, who's going to do a review on title to make sure that there's no claims. All of these different things they have to manage through a multiple of different entities. What we are going to do when this deal consummates is on this platform, take every digitized platform that we offer, which is the things that we just discussed, and incorporate them as part and parcel of the overall offering. So no more people having to go out and find 4 different vendors. No more having to manage it and put multiples of people managing that whole process, consolidating it and making sure that everything makes sense. We provide everything to them. And to give you an example of competition to Blue Water does 15,000 transactions a month. If you take other companies that are out there that are similar, there's companies like Citus, some companies like Canopy, companies like Incenter. To do 15,000 transactions a month, these people would need at least 300 people. There's only 30 people in Blue Water, and we really only need 2.5 people to facilitate the transaction itself. So what we've done, and bought a company that is pure technology and allows us to do things quicker, more affordable, and certainly more professional. Sound familiar? Everything that we're doing right now meets that code. So is it accretive? Absolutely stunningly accretive. But once we integrate through APIs all of our platform onto one, and we can offer it, we'll obviously be able to offer it on an aggregate basis significantly cheaper than anyone else in the marketplace. Why? Because we've digitized everything. So if you take a look at margins that a typical MSR purchaser would participate in, it's minuscule. They count on large volumes. And so without being disrespectful, these guys would change teams for 5 cents. Anything that they can do to improve the process, make it quicker, make it more reliable, and certainly make it more affordable, is that we have an opportunity to capture the marketplace. So if you want to look at it as far as the total addressable market, you got 4 million transactions that take place every month. So there's $100 that could be made, by Blue Water itself. There is an additional $200 to $250 that you can make on these transactions through all of the additional services. Massive marketplace that exponentially increases our ability to generate revenue by virtue of having and owning this platform. By 400% more than what we currently operated in now. And so, we're just so excited because there is nobody in this space that has digitized this at all. And we're very familiar. We've looked at other companies that, because we've always wanted to get into this space, and they just didn't fit the bill because they're just too concentrated on manual Excel spreadsheets, filling it in, combining all these different resources. It's just a mess. And so therefore, we just hit the market at the right time in the right place. And, the second benefit is that everybody knows that interest rates have increased. The whole marketplace has subsided. If you follow Real Matters, because they do, valuation and title, quarter over quarter, their revenue off of title fell by 80%. Their revenue off of valuation, dropped by 35%. Massive cuts. You heard Blend today cut over $400 million off their cost. I forget exactly. I think it's $40 million off their cost. Anyways, it was massive amounts of cuts. They just announced in a press release today. So please, authenticate that number, because I'm probably misrepresenting it. But, the point I'm making is massive cuts are taking place everywhere. So, what we have done literally with this transaction is exponentially increase our volume, exponentially increase our profitability, and, obviously mitigate any cyclicality that this business has. So I'm just through the moon. Now, where are we right now? Well, we've got everything locked up as far as financing. We've got Bank of Montreal that are essentially providing a third in financing, and 70% is in 30%, 70% is in vendor takeback in shares. A massive vote of confidence by a very sophisticated group that know that the only way that they win out of this is that 1 and 1 equals 10. And I love it. And they're not only, like that old commercial used to say, they not only like the razor, they liked it so much they bought the company. Listen, not one of them is a material shareholder. Once you divvy up all the shares into Rice Capital, which they will among the shareholders, not one entity, person, corporation, whatever, will own, no one will own 10% or more of the company. And most of them are very small percentages. So, it's an expedited transaction as far as how it's being looked at the TSXV. We have filed the application to get this deal done, and that was filed, late last night. And so we're just waiting for someone to be appointed as the lead person at TSX. And we hopefully, with an expedited transaction, hopefully over the next 2 to 3 weeks, that we'll be able to have all that approval in place. There's no issues with the financing. We're just, have to redo the credit agreement, but that's being done as we speak, and there's no issues there. It's been an extremely opportunistic time where no one believed that I'd be able to, or we would be able to get it across the line. But once we basically did, there's a lot of lenders that are out there that are kind of behind the curtain. And so isn't it amazing that, that we have 4 major banks that all want to participate in the syndication of our current and outstanding debt. We believe that based on the profitability that we have and what we'll garner as a result of this, that it will clearly focus us significantly under what would be considered, like we'll be just in a great position with our debt to EBITDA ratios. Our covenants are all in place. We've bought some time with BMO, so we're in good shape there. And as I say, there's 4 major banks that want to participate yesterday. Can't name them obviously because of confidentiality, but we're in such a good position now that BMO said, listen, we need to be more strategic. We need to find out who can fill our pockets up the most. Maybe it should be a Morgan Stanley or JP Morgan, instead of so-and-so or so-and-so. So let's be strategic and why do we want to syndicate it? A typical bank doesn't provide any more than 60 million of debt. And it's just because they're risk mitigants. And so what we want to do is syndicate it, is that if everyone, let's say we divvy it up 4 ways and everyone has $15 million worth of debt, we have that opportunity to expand the limits of each individual bank and continue to grow. And we believe we use debt as a weapon. We don't use it irresponsibly. But if you can use debt, then obviously it's less dilutive. And so we've got great opportunities to expand as a result of this. Obviously, it's going to be a large pause, and we won't be doing anything material, for this year or the early part of next year. The next 6 months are really going to be focused, on integration and implementation of our strategy and vision. So, I personally have done massive deals before. When I was at Altus, I did Argus. This singularly, I think, is going to be one of the most impactful deals ever in the real estate technology space, bar none, in North America. No one saw it coming. No one saw how you put all these pieces together. And if I could just take you through it in a small way, because believe it or not, when the stocks have went from the $1.50 or $1.60 when they were there for New York second to dropping to 47 cents. I was a benefactor of getting death threats, that I was stupid, that I didn't know what I was doing, that I was careless, that I was, any other adjective that you wanted to define someone that is incompetent. And I guess as part of the territory, listen, we need to do better. Obviously, we are going to do very, very well from this. We need to enhance shareholder value. Sometimes current market conditions external to anything that we do, technology space, real estate space, cyclicality with interest rates going. It was not Voxtur only that was subject to the frailties of the cyclicality. But by us moving now into capital market space, we've mitigated that. We're always going to be active, whether it's in origination or in the MSR space. And it's not just MSRs. It could be selling whole loans, like I said before, scratch and dent, home equity lines, non-QM, all of that stuff we're going to play in. So it really just falls perfectly into everything we do. So what did we do? We bought, if I take you down memory lane, we bought Clarosity. We paid at the time equivalent of $11 million. It was for the 150 master service agreements that have in place. Isn't that so prophetic now that we can extenuate the business from Blue Water, because now we have all these master service that can bring on all the big guys right away and just do an addendum to the master MSAs. We're like, awesome. And we're using the order management platform called Fusion, which we are today. So we only have 2 or 3 employees left. So everything that I said we were going to do and how we're going to do it was done. We bought, ANOW. Why do we buy ANOW? It is the only fully digitized, valuation platform and insurance that can be insured right now in North America. And there's so many other variations from this. We've got all kinds of acronyms for what it could do, but we've provided all kinds of different variations of what ANOW brought in, from being able to review a portfolio of appraisals that are being done and showing the frailties of them and having them go back and fix it before it goes, to the lender, and keep, the ratings up, to be able to facilitate and help them, through navigate through the whole process so we can get it done quicker, cheaper, and more reliable. We got and there's just so many different. We have a full quality control platform that we built that can review some 3,000 data elements and have a report back to them immediately, again, to improve their proficiency and efficiency. We've got a whole an appraisal management form that allows them, instead of doing things through PDFs and XMLs, and we fully digitize this, on our own platform. And so massive improvements as far as quick. We've put together the largest database in North America, so we can now populate these appraisal records for the appraisers to mitigate. We bought Apex. Isn't that coincidental? Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac have basically said, we need to stop using the appraisers as way too expensive. It's costing $1,000 in 20 days. So isn't it amazing that we're going to focus on, sketches? We're going to focus on floor plan layouts, and then use their own AVM to mitigate, the standard kind of run-of-the-mill appraisals, which will cut out, a massive amount of the appraisal process. Who do you think has the largest repository of sketches in North America? We do. Why? Because we bought Apex. Why did we buy Apex? Because we knew that this was happening. So, every individual item on its own, we want to stand its own 2 feet, by making money. But at the same time, it's, the whole is bigger than the sum of the parts. So we did Apex. Then we went out and we got Albertelli Law. Why did we get Albertelli Law? Because number one, before pandemic, they were making $2 million a month in the default side. We knew that the pandemic would be lifted. We knew that the defaults are coming back, and we're just starting to see it this month. We actually think that that this company, we can have this turned around and be back to being profitable again, starting in September and going forward. We're really encouraged by the amount of defaults and loading into our platform, so we're really happy about that. But the whole, what I thought was a shining star in that acquisition was the attorney opinion letter. The attorney opinion letter that we can offer at $700 versus the $3,000 that's out there in the marketplace. On top of that, you have to remember the Federal Financing and Housing Authority approved this, along with Fannie and Freddie. 3 years of absolute intense scrutiny on the on the actual insurance policy that was surrounded this, along with the the full digitized title process, the ingestion engines that we built. So much so that they are prepared to participate, in Zoom calls with large clients to say, if you have an AOL, you will get a check mark against a ticketed Fannie and Freddie approval, which is massive. They haven't done that in 75 years. But think about it this way. Cost of home ownership right now is $6,000, on a typical transaction. We can knock that down to $2,000. It was a priority in the Trump administration. It's a priority in the Biden administration. And the wheels take, time to get rolling. But they're starting to roll now, and we're starting to integrate. So when you look at each individual business that we bought, each one of them outright in their own way are going to be profitable, and each one of them outright are contributing massively now that we're in this capital market space. So that's kind of it in a nutshell. We hope to close sometime in September. A lot depends on how quick TSX approval will take place. What does that mean for us at the capital markets side? We talked about going on to NASDAQ. Well, we can't go on to NASDAQ at 50 cents a share. And I don't anticipate our shares to change substantively until we close this deal, because people want certainty. But once it closes, if it doesn't just fly off the shelves, then there's something wrong. But a lot of people are from Missouri on this call, and they're the show me state. So we'll be able to show growth. I'm meeting this week, with the whole team from Blue Water tech team to be able to have in place a full integration of all of our service offerings onto their platform. So when we close, we hit the ground running. So we'll probably, look at NASDAQ in the spring. We'll be filing our prospective, if not this week, next week. We've already filed our circular. We'll probably go to the TSX, which is a major board instead of the venture board, at some point in time between now and the end of the year. And we'll look to getting onto NASDAQ as all of this comes to fruition. They totally recognize what a diamond in the rough that we have right now, unprecedented from anybody in the space anywhere. And I'm just over the moon, because everything that we planned has an ability to come into place, in every way. And so that's kind of like, I don't think that we could do a more impactful deal if we tried. I think it's going to change the world right now and how things are being done in the space. And each individual business that we bought, we wouldn't take back one of them. We love every one of them that had to offer. Not everything has been smooth. Not everything has been perfect. Changes are made. And not that it matters to you, because, we're not obviously press releasing it like some, but we've effectively, created an austerity program where we've cut off our operating costs through layoffs, and every person in the company taking a cut. But we've, reduced our monthly cost by $1 million a month. We have went to senior executives and me leading the way and cut out all bonuses from acquisitions, from profits, from everything. Personally, myself, probably walked away from $3 million, but we've cut out all bonuses until this company gets right size and the money is coming in. And then, with good governance and good guidance and conservative, leadership, will gradually have an opportunity to incentivize, because you can't keep good people if they're not properly incentivized. But we've made some massive cuts, and massive sacrifices have been made to acknowledge and recognize that until this acquisition comes in and us moving into the capital market side, we have an ability to pivot and to continue to grow as time goes on. So that's kind of it. If there's any questions, Mariusz, maybe you can,
Yeah. So do you see the little icon on your right?
Where is that? On the, where it's got the dotted
like chat with everyone, the chat?
I don't.
Yeah, but dotted lines. Like there's information, people, and then there's like a comment thing.
I've got the call, I've got the video, I've got the mute button. Oh, then there's a hand, so that may be it, right? Is that it? No. And then there's, to the right on the bottom, there's like 4 dots, and it says activities, others, in-call messages. So maybe I do that. Just pull up in-call messages. Okay. Yes.
Yeah,
so
but before you start reading it, if I can just ask a question, because when I met with Jim Albertelli in San Diego, I think it was in 2021 for the Mortgage Association, he was already talking about getting into the secondary market space. So you've been working on this for a while, right? Like, how long did it take you to close this and to find? Well, you didn't close it, but to kind of get to where you are.
Conservatively, personally, I put 80 hours a week in for the last 6 months.
So what did you have to do to, like, what
Oh my
kind of
good
work
God.
did you
The
do?
first thing we had to do is we had to convince Blue Water that we were the best, destination for them. They already had it sold on an offer from a major bank. And I had to go in and convince him that we were the right people, because now we have the whole world, as our clients. And if you're with one bank, you think that one bank is going to subsidize another bank because they happen to have a platform. So it took a whole bunch of convincing. They're extremely valuable business, and it was appraised, at $150 million, and we bought it for 100. So there's a whole bunch of synergy. I mean, we had to, like, the amount of due diligence, we had to get it appraised, we had to get a quality of earnings report done. We had to.
What was it appraised for, you said?
Well, there was a range, but basically on average is $150 million.
Okay, continue.
And and then there's massively amounts of other due diligence. There's the whole financial review, the individual technology. We hired independent technology firms to review not only the algorithms of the product, but the full securitization of the platform, to make sure that it met all the tests for public company scrutiny, and scrutiny, with our clients, which are the major banks. Everything came through with flying colors every time, but it takes time. It costs a lot of money. And you have to remember, it was a hell of a risk, because it probably cost us $1 million in fees to close this deal. And what happens if we didn't close? I mean, we're out there. But it's what you have to do when you make that kind of, commitment, right? As far as the price you got to pay. So it's not foreign to me. I've been down this road before. I paid $130 million for Argus when I was at Altus. That business today on its own is worth $2.5 billion. I think that this business, where you take our business, which is technology, and their business, which is technology, we don't conflict with each other. We aid and abet each other, but 1 and 1 has got to equal 50. That's the way we look at it.
Okay, so go ahead and read those questions, and if you can read it out loud before you answer, that'd be quite great.
How long will it take to officially integrate Blue Water with your data? What type of growth are you expecting for the next 12 months with Blue Water? And how long do you think it will take to recoup the $100 million acquisition cost? The integration is easy. It's APIs. We got the platform. There's no integration really at all. The key is for us to get out there to all the clients on our platform to show that this is what we're offering. This is the price we're offering. And since we own the marketplace now, that's where all of the product is put on our, like, we have an opportunity to control, that. We're exponentially increasing our buyers. And we'll be able to offer all of these services. And as I say, they change teams for 5 cents. No one's been able to do what we've done. So, I really do believe that we could pay this whole thing off. First of all, we took back shares, but we could pay this whole thing off in less than 24 months. I really do believe that's easily attainable. It's just that easy. I mean, listen, if we got $1 million out of the 4 million and we made on average $300, what does that tell you? And that's on a monthly basis. So, it's so absolutely expansive and prolific. And all the while we're doing this, we're continuing to service the origination side, and that will come up. And we got our tax product that's, coming on board soon. And we've got, a bunch of other things. So, I just think that, I think that we're going to be one of the best, real estate technology companies that exist out there in time. So, I'm really, really, really happy about that. Second question, how much Voxtur shares will Blue Water get? So essentially the shares are going to be distributed over a 4-year period on a quarterly basis. For the most part, equal, but not quite, because there's some LTIP programs that were built in. So all of the, like, all of the key people have shares. Not one person is going to own more than 7% of the company. And the distribution of the 170 million shares that will be given out will be done over 4 years. So, who knows what the company is going to be looking like at that point. But, I'm telling you right now that by us locking everybody in for the 4-year period, by, an equal distribution with respect to how these shares are going to be distributed. I mean, Rice Park are going to distribute the shares as they get them to the individual owners. And so, there's a really nice, and the fact is not going to be flooded because we've got, we got it done over a 4-year period. And the two major players that hold the largest shares are officers and or directors or observers of the company, and they will be subject to the same rules that any board member or officer of the company is. So we feel really, safe and not at risk. Why is the deal paid over 16 periods? I think I answered that, right? I mean, that's what we want to do. We want to be able to have people hang around for the 4 years and make sure that they don't have so much money they can just take off. So they need to, look at it as an earnout. They're going to be around. We're going to make a lot of money. We're going to hopefully allow, our people to make a lot of money, and they want to be here forever. So that's kind of why we did it for 16 periods. What is the potential biggest risk with this acquisition? I think, is MSR going to dry up? I mean, we just see acceleration and growth for a long time. We think it's just getting started with the non-QM, the home equity lines, the scratch and dent. We know that's going to be prolific. So I guess, I don't, just like any deal, what's the biggest risk? So we have problems with integration, but it's not really an integration, it's API. I think the whole key is to make it work, provide a healthy, safe, professional environment for our employees, and allow us to grow that way. Because the business is there, the mitigation of cyclicality has been done. I feel very, very confident with this. What are the goals Blue Water has to hit for the shares to be earned over the next 4 years? None. It's not an earnout. It's a commitment. We were against an existing bank. They were offering an all-cash deal, no conditions. This is what we did. So we convinced them that employee retention was important. The business is going to bang it out. So. Again, not an earnout, but a deferring of payment of shares. So they got to continue to work, or else, if they don't, then they're going to get even more hit than we are, right? So, would the distribution shares spread out over 4 years, or does dilution happen immediately and earning the shares? No, the dilution doesn't happen immediately. It happens exponentially as each amount of shares are. There's dilution at that time, and that time only. And that again happens over 16 quarters, is 4 years. So, what are we going to look like in 4 years? What happens when companies like that are in competition to us, that have thousands of people to do what we're doing with a few? What are they going to do? I mean, do we go out and buy some of those businesses and just get the clients and use our technology because we don't need the people? Is that an acquisition strategy? Are there other areas? I mean, we're offering pretty much every service in the lending space. To me, the only thing that I think of, I mean, first of all, let's just settle down and integrate everything and maximize our profits. I mean, that's the first goal. The second goal is that there's a couple of other areas I don't want to talk about right now because, everyone likes to have their own Colonel Sanders secret recipe, right? But there may be a possibility someday we get into the ICI. So we're doing residential, which is 50% of the real estate market. There's no reason that we can't, move over into the commercial industrial investment side of the business at some point down the road, but not anytime soon. If potential MSR customers decide not to deal with Blue Water Voxtur, what other choices do they have? Well, I mean, there's other people that offer this service, but they're manually. They take 4 to 6 weeks to do what we can do in 10 seconds. They will charge probably 25, and depending upon where we decide that we want to start offering our service to integrate, but anywhere from 50 to from 25 to 50% more than we would. And it's such a small margins in this business. Like I said, I'm not being derogatory. You got to change teens for 5 cents because the margins are so slim. So I don't think it's a choice. And secondly, it's our marketplace that everyone is on. We've created, a national marketplace for all sellers of not just MSRs, but mortgages, etc. Ours is the go-to marketplace. Ours is fully digitized. We provide a full hedging service for our purchasers. So it's I don't know. I really like what we got, guys. It says, how will the acquisition be accounted for? Like, I'm not sure what you mean by that, but what will the balance sheet? Look like? When everything is said and done, we're going to have fully diluted. After 4 years, we'll have roughly 720 million shares. After 4 years, but lots are going to happen between now and 4 years from now. And right now we have 60, upon closing, roughly about 62 million of debt. We can make that in a month. I'm not saying that we're going to make it in the first month. We've got to integrate. We've got to get people familiar with our process and that. But this is really, what I believe to be, an opportunity to be a very creative deal. What is your target price for Voxtur before you even think of going to NASDAQ? Need to sit on that one. I need to sit. I don't think that there's a perfect answer. I just need to know that the only thing I concern myself with is what is in the best interest of the shareholder. I need to know that, if we have to consolidate, that there isn't going to be a dilution of value. So it's really about timing and our performance, that will dictate, target price. I expect that our stocks are, our shares are going to rebound significantly, once people fully get a true understanding of how impactful this deal is. And again, they're from Missouri. It's show me. We've got to show the results too. So that's it. Will Rice Park have a future role with the Voxtur? As a customer, they will. But as an entity, no, because their shares they have an arm called Rice Park. I think it's investment or something like that. I'm not sure exactly, but it's along that. So, the shares that are getting are just being divided out as they get them among the individual shareholders. So, Nick Smith, who has just been so amazing and professional through this process, has been awesome. And so we have offered him an observer role on our board that probably will ultimately mean to a board member at some point. But, obviously he's extremely motivated for us to do really well because, he's a shareholder himself that's significant. And so he'll need this to do really, really well. So, yeah. So that's kind of, I guess, their role. What quarter do you expect Voxtur to start showing profitability in the financials? Fourth quarter of this year, assuming that this gets closed, in the fourth quarter. I mean, we're going to start making some money anyway. So yeah, fourth quarter is the number that I think that we're not only going to be EBITDA positive, but cash flow positive as well. So it's not like 7 years into bed it's going to happen. Just to recap, is it correct to think about the valuation of the deal was 100 million on 15,000 transactions a month, and transactions around 1 million a month or so about 10 to 12 sales? No. I mean, the simple person could look at it that way. If you want simple math, I mean, simple not as in not intelligent, but simple math. You know, their projections on their own are significantly for 2023 are more than, you know, quite a bit more than that projection. Their 2022 numbers are going to be bigger than that. So, and, you know, when you look at a sale, you don't look at a sale on a historical basis, but you look on it, you know, on a going forward basis. But most importantly, look at the opportunities providing us. I mean, honestly, we can generate as much as a couple $100 on a transaction. And so, you know, we think conservatively we should make a couple million, you know, $2 to $3 million a month of added new business for us. And so it's just amazing. It's amazing. So that numbers that we're talking about is, they want to know about margins and that. We're looking at profit margins of that business on its own of 75% profit margins, and not, you know, not like EBITDA margins, profit margins. And then obviously it's going to exponentially increase our margins substantively because everything we're doing is digitization and technology, and it's huge revenue basis for us too. So it's around the board big win. So I'll read this. Does this acquisition complete your vision for Voxtur, or are you looking for other businesses that you think are necessary to complete Voxtur? Considering the Blue Water MSR platform offers a much faster process for lenders, buyers, have you discussed with Blue Water on raising the fees they charge if the tech with your data is far superior to the competition? You know, I think you already know the answer. We'll do whatever the market bears. But if you can do things quicker, you can do things more accurately, and you can certainly offer things cheaper, then we will find that happy medium point that allows us to excel in our business. But there's no way anyone can beat as far as the technology platform that we have. We've created the marketplace already. We've digitized the whole process. I mean, what we do in 10 seconds, a similar company takes 300 people, 6 weeks to do. We're just, you know, like we are allowing this wonderful, you know, beautiful company. We're the coming out party for them. We're the party that can bring 200 master service agreements in. We're the party that, you know, that brings them viability because of all the other offerings that are augmented and integrated into their space. It's just nothing like it.
Is it kind of like what you did with ANOW, where ANOW was, you know, this small company that would have a hard time getting big clients, but under your umbrella, you were able to lend them massive clients?
I think that these guys are way, way, way more mature than that. They have massive clients. I can't, you know, I would love to be able to disclose more, but, you know, the deal's not closed. They're private companies who got to be careful, right? But no, they've got massive clients dealing with billions of dollars of transactions. I just think that we just make them better. We make the overall service offering complete. There are other things that we're going to do. We basically completed all of the offerings, but there are other things that we're going to do that I'm not going to tell you about that are going to be extremely accretive too, that is not going to be impactful in any way as far as cash flow or shares that we're going to have to issue. I've got, you know, this, I don't know if you ever complete. I think if you rest on your laurels, you're in trouble. You can't stay still. You either forge ahead or you fall back. It's just the way the world goes in anything you do. So we got some really good things ahead. I can't see anything material as far as cost or liquidation or anything. at all for some time, but we got lots of little pieces to add that are just going to just make it better and more profitable. Then they're saying, thanks for taking the time to educate us. And can you give me a short update on AOL? Sure, we got 7 banks, lenders, you know, whatever, all have signed right now. We're starting with 2 key ones as we speak. Like as we speak, we're doing them right now. So AOL is going to be up and running. They may be a little bit more conservative than what we think of out of the chute, but we're gonna get there. We're gonna get there in a very profound way. We're gonna get there just because I told you how supportive Fannie and Freddie are of this and how material this is in making homeownership more affordable. Tax product. So I'm just engaging a marketing firm right now to help us manage the social blitz so that we can get the product is done. We've added a few more things that were unexpected, but it is good. Like, for example, there are some states that are frozen. Like if you're in Florida, if you buy a house for $1 million, you are, and you're, you know, a resident of that state, then you're limited to tax increases by 3% a year. And then all of a sudden you turn around and sell it, then it resets itself and goes to the new market value, and then the cycle continues to repeat. So for determining whether the taxes are too high, too low, we got to go back to the year in question when it was sold to make sure they made the right thing. We've added things like if you happen to be a veteran and you're qualified for a rebate, we identify that for you. If you're a homestead but you're not getting the rebate, we identify that. If you're over 65, we identify that. If you're are a minority and eligible for a rebate, we do that. So that is on the, we'll call it confirm my assessment side. And so we're just doing the social media bits because we cleaned up all of those extra benefits. On the lender side, we, you know, we are working with the lenders right now because they have a fiduciary responsibility. They are a fiduciary, and so they have that responsibility that when they pay the taxes on behalf of the homeowner, that they've done some due diligence to make sure that the right taxes are there. So Competition Bureau is providing a lot of, I guess, a lot of support for us because, you know, you can't just pay the taxes without knowing that it's the right amount against the right property. And so we're now starting to, you know, having those discussions with the banks right now and working out, you know, a proper platform to allow that to be loaded. And we're, you know, again, I guess we're just weeks away from getting the full province of Ontario signed on, and that's going to be massive. So hence why I went out and bought, you know, at a very, very insignificant price, the MTE tax business, because we're going to now have 444 municipalities that need to be serviced, and it's a high margin business, right? A high, you know, profit margin business. We're in excess of 50%. So, I mean, and it's all driven from the technology that we provided. So, you know, that's what we're doing. Okay, after the real estate market cool down, how does it affect your 2022 projected revenues? Yeah, it's affected it. We expect to be probably at the low end of the range for 2022, but we will expect to meet that range. But I mean, it's still, you know, 70% year over year increase, right? You know, in revenue. It's not like the real matters when they're going to drop, you know, 50 or 60% year over year. So we're you know, we're going the right way, doing the right things. But hence, you can see why I so, you know, aggressively and, you know, at a significant personal cost, you know, push this capital market side of the business so that we never have to deal with the cyclicality again. Voxtur Wealth, the guys worked around the clock last night. We expect to have the first 2,000 participants loaded on our platform by the end of September. So moving ahead, everything that we said we're going to do, we're doing. So, can you explain how this acquisition reduced the cyclicality? Well, of course, the MSR business is booming. People need to, hedge, right, against the cyclicality. So they're off selling MSR so they can make a margin on that and reduce their exposure. It's just a booming business right now. So, it's always busy, but it's even more busy at times like this. And the origination slowed down. So one counterbalances the other. So we now play in all spaces. And so that's how it reduces our cyclicality. And then bringing things in like tax in a more formidable way. There is no cyclicality in tax. Voxtur Wealth, there is no cyclicality in Voxtur Wealth. People need to manage their assets more affordably, and more efficiently. So we're doing lots of things to reduce the cyclicality. That's it that I have right now, Mariusz. Is there any other questions before we hop off?
Yeah, I don't have any more questions. So I think it was good. You answered most of them, and so let's
make some money and get this stock up to $2, right?
Yeah. What will it take for people to understand this?
Well, you tell me. I mean, I did my best to explain. You guys tell me, do your own little survey, and do you understand what we're doing now? Do you understand the space? Do you understand, our rationalization and our strategy and our vision? It really takes, let me say this. It's a complicated business. It's not meant, for everyone to understand like every aspect of the business, but isn't it easy to understand it, when you're making, $50 million a month as opposed to losing money. So it's so amazing how everyone becomes so much more familiar and educated when we're making money. And so, listen, we need to make money, and making money in a technology play with high margins is going to take care of the price. And I can explain till my heart till my heart stops. We need to be able to show the profits. We need to be able to show the growth. We're going to do that. And, you're going to start seeing profits in the fourth quarter, and the growth is going to be exponential, but your margins are going to grow substantively. Your profit margins are going to go. You're going to be cash flow positive, in addition to EBITDA positive. We're doing all of the, I feel very strong that we're doing all the right things. I got a lot of my own money into this, and I just walked away from millions myself personally because I know where this company is going to go. And I did exactly what you expect leaders to do. Leaders need to lead by example, not do as I say, not what as I do. So we're doing this thing. I really do care about the shareholders. I know that I have an enormous responsibility to you as shareholders, because I need to protect you as far as your wealth. We need to grow this, and you entrusted this, and I take it, very seriously, my responsibility to do whatever I can to make sure that you're, going to get the returns that you hope for. And fortunately, the letters that I got with respect to terminating my life, it hasn't happened so far. So I have this opportunity to continue to work towards and get where we have. It's the world can be pretty cruel, and there's so much reason for excitement, and shame on the people that resort to hideous responses that hide behind fictitious emails and everything like that. I guess it's the world we live in today. But only know that we're working our ass off. We're doing everything we can, and I think we've got a winner. I think we got such an unbelievable winner. I just got to get it closed, right? And so that's getting TSX on side, getting whatever other, getting the credit agreements signed off. You know, that's the next 30 days, right? We're just going like crazy. You know, there's someone that says issuing shares at 54 cents seems very expensive. My good God, do you not see what we just got done, right? You not see what we just got done. You know, it's absolutely so accretive, right? What you do is if you can buy a business for, let's put it this way, you guys can do the math. Let's say that we take a business where we haven't not EBITDA positive and we grow it to $100 million within the next a year. I think we can do that in a month, but in the next year we go to $100 million profit. And because we're a pure technology play, that is probably worth $2.5 billion, right? Like, what do you care about 54 cents? Because that $2.5 billion is going to be the equivalent of, call it $4 a share. What do you care? Like, what do you care when you buy a house and you pay $600,000 and someone says, well, you know, why did you pay $6? You could have got it for $550. Well, and then 3 years later, it's $1 million. What do you care? You have to do the right thing in business. And we bought a company for $100 million that was valued at 150, and it's worth way more than that because of the, you know, integration of what we have. I mean, that's just common sense, right? And the reason I'm here, you know, is to make sure that common sense and intelligence and shrewd and impactful deals that are done, right? Like, that's what business is. I mean, you know, I could say to you, whoever asked that question, you know, why did you pay, you know, $30,000 for your car? Because that's what the price is, right? You can't, you know, you can't make it. I mean, at the time, they wanted $70 million down payment. I could not get it. And so I had to pay some bonus shares. So really what I did do was pay, and they bought it at 98 cents, but I had to pay some bonus shares because they weren't getting what was the deal. And so we had to renegotiate it and redo it. And this is what we ended up with. You know, and I can bet you anything that you're not going to ask that question 12 months from now. And I don't mean that, you know, in any kind of sarcastic or cynical way. I'm just being as serious as I can. It says, through this acquisition, I see every mortgage that still exists could be your customer through this marketplace. It absolutely 100% is. There's no question that everyone can be our customer today. It makes no sense to me and why they wouldn't. But every client that we deal with is in risk mitigation. So they're obviously not going to give you everything because that's not the way life works. They need, they can't put all their eggs in one basket. It's just not the way banks work, right? The Bank of Montreal thinks we're the best thing that ever happened right now with what we've done, but they just have a limit on what they can give out because that's the way the rules are meant. That's how you run a prudent business. So, right? And Mariusz, I do have to go. I just noticed I had a 1:30 call and I'm kind of past that limit. So again, thanks very much for listening. Really appreciate the opportunity. And again, I'm available to anyone if they need it. Just not over the next couple of weeks, please. But you know, we can you know, touch base in another, you know, couple months, Mariusz, and do the same thing and do a post-mortem on this. I'm happy to do that as well.